The only real downside about this build is that you're not going to be able to make it until you reach, like, the end game. You cannot get this armor set until you reach, like, the final level of the second region of the game, which is the entrance to the final end game with the final regions, the final levels of the game. But I'm still going to be uploading the early games and the middle games builds. It's just that I wanted to get this out of the way because I have been trying like as many armor sets as I can, and this one is just so absurdly, brokenly powerful, and I love it. And you're going to deal so much damage, and the combo is just going to be so infinite. I am going to have, I mean, just take a look at this damage. Take a look at how laser this thing looks right in here. Another one of the downsides is that the combo that you need for this to make things work in here, it's an upside and it's a downside. It's an infinite combo, so you can rinse and repeat it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like a maniac, so long as you have stamina. So this build is also going to be quite stamina dependent, quite stamina hungry, like many other builds that you're going to have in this game. The other thing is that the combo is quite complicated, so in some cases, in some instances, it's going to cause you to confuse things, and sometimes you're going to do things that you're not supposed to do, because this is a build that you should always be using to attack from the rear. And as a matter of fact, most of the damage, if not the whole damage that we deal with this build, is going to be coming from rear damage. So as much stuff that it can be allocated in there on rear damage is going to be amazing, but we'll dive into that a little bit later on. First, let's talk about the armor set. And the armor set, link in the description. Check the link in the description. You're going to find the location for the recipe in case you don't actually have the armor set for yourself. It's not really that difficult to get. This is an armor set that you're going to get into the main levels, and it is missable, but you can always go back to get it. And like I said, link in the description for the location for the recipe to craft the armor. And also, I mean, the armor just looks amazing. It has this amazing Roman Imperial kind of look, and the details on the armor as well, with the cape, the cloak right in here, they just make this thing amazing. So what's the gist of everything? What we're going to be having as a main of everything is going to be the Moonlight Awakening, which is going to be kind of a beta version if Shadow Reversal was useful. I mean, Shadow Reversal is useful, but the problem with Shadow Reversal and the overall idea is for you to deal rear damage, which is very powerful. The only problem with Shadow Reversal is that it only works with small enemies, and big enemies, it's a little bit more tricky for you to use Shadow Reversal with big enemies. This is the Moonlight Awakening, which is going to increase one of the skills that we'll be talking about later on. So essentially what this is going to do is that it's going to teleport you towards the back of the enemy. Not only that, but it's also going to deal tremendous and filthy amounts of damage. And I want for you to take a look at this specific gameplay that I have for you right here, because you might be thinking that if I'm going to be spamming this combo like a maniac, I am going to be needing a huge amount of spirit. You don't, because it's retroactive. So only one skill uses one level point of spirit, but if you combine it with the rest of the combo that I will be showcasing later on, then it's going to be gaining that spirit back, so you're never really out of spirit, so you can continue the assault back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like a maniac, and it's just going to be chef's kiss amazing. Talking about the rest of the things, we have dodge stamina cost decrease, which is amazing for a spear playstyle. We have rear assault stamina damage increase. That's going to be amazing for us to cause for the enemy to be exhausted, and then it's going to increase the trance damage by 20%. Not only that, but this is actually going to be flat 30% more damage, because trance is going to place you towards the rear of the enemy, and then while you're dealing damage on the back of the enemy, that's 10% more damage whenever you're dealing damage towards the rear of the enemy. We're going to be pairing this up with the Cutthroat, because as you can see, you get a 20% more damage increase by using this thing. And you won't be stacking as much rear assault damage, because you are going to exhaust the enemy. Then the Moonlight Awakening, the trance, is going to teleport you back to the enemy, and this actually works with the brutal attack So I want for you to take a look at this. If I am using a brutal attack from the front of the dummy, I am going to be dealing 80k damage and then 10k damage. If I move towards the rear of the enemy, that's going to increase my rear damage, because this is 15k damage and 18k damage because of the rear attack bonus damage that you receive, and also we're multiplying that rear attack, so it's just a huge amount of damage when it comes to the rear damage. As for everything else, you want to be allocating as much max stamina that you can, because remember that this can be chained into an infinite combo that I'm going to be showcasing you at the end of the video. Remember that there's timestamps in case you want to check that out right now. But then stamina recovery, damage increase, back damage increase. Whenever you can get like damage increase or rear damage increase, that's going to be amazing. But overall, you want to be focusing on max stamina or dodge stamina cost decrease, which is very useful as well for you to always have your Moonlight active. Moonlight, it's a quintessential part of every SPIA build because it adds so much more DPS and so much more survivability. Now when it comes to the stats, this is actually quite tricky. I recently uploaded a video that I am going to update either today or tomorrow about the stat crafting and building. It still very much retains the same thing that I've discovered ever since, that you can actually get more damage from different kind of sources. Like all of the damage that you saw me getting right in there, we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive into that tomorrow video, or today if I had time to record and edit that today. But essentially, the flat damage increase that you are getting from the rear damage increase comes from your base damage, not from your scaling damage. As a matter of fact, your scaling damage is never going to be affected like the scaling damage that I have right in here. It's never going to be affected by the rear damage increase, the damage multiplier, the damage increase. All of that damage is going to be going directly into my attack damage. That is more often than not going to be coming from the total attack damage of the weapon, but also from the percentages and extra stat allocation that I have from different stats, because every single stat is going to give you one more point into your overall damage that is then going to be multiplied with the rest of everything. A little bit complicated, I know, but we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive when it comes to when we talk about those stats. All you have to know is that for you to deal the damage that I'm dealing right in here, and for you to have as much survivability as the one that I have, is that Vitality 60 because that's the hard cap for Vitality, and then Endurance on 40 because we want to be dealing as much combos as possible. We are pairing that up with our maximum stamina that we have from our gear, and then we have the Strength 34. This is the exact amount that you need to have an A on Agility. That, remember, it's always going to give you more stamina recovery, and overall it's going to improve your stamina, whilst at the same time giving you more iframes whenever you dodge, so that's very powerful. And then we have the Proficiency, which is going to scale the base damage, the basic attacks that we deal with our weapon, but it's also going to increase the stamina cost decrease, which we have on 67% in here. It's just nuts what we have in here. But the Proficiency is going to be contributing to this right here. It's also going to give us the flat scaling of the weapon. For the B scaling, remember that that's going to be for the basic attack, not for what we actually want to have on itself. I should like to mention that when it comes to the skill tree, the stat allocation, I am quite a high level of a character, so you can basically mimic what I'm doing in here. Like I mentioned, this is an endgame build. You're not going to be able to use the trance if you don't actually have 34 points into the mastery level for your weapon. But the resources, all of this right here, are going to need to be maxed out, so yeah, you can be having a spirit accumulation whenever you're dealing damage, whenever you're dealing combos, so that you can continue spamming this combo that I'm going to show you in a little while, so that you can continue that infinitely. Moving forward from there, we're going to be allocating the maximum points into our Moonlight in here, because it's very powerful. It's always much more damage. And yeah, it's actually kind of amazing. We're actually going to be using Full Moon on some certain specific instances, not at all the times, but this is actually going to increase our DPS quite a lot. Just have in mind that you need to have all of the Moonlight or Swift Attack allocated in here. And then the main thing that you are going to need is going to be Assault and Trance. Assault is going to deal a tremendous amount of damage whenever we deal damage to the stamina of the enemy. So that's what we actually want to be dealing stamina damage. But also we have the Assault Descent. So this basically, what this does is that whenever you use the Assault to stagger the enemy or to deplete the stamina of the enemy, it's going to plunge you into the air to deal this plunging attack damage that is going to be amazing, because more often than not you will see that we are going to be using it from behind the enemy. The way that we're going to be using to achieve that is going to be by trance, because trance is something that we can to be able to use it as after a basic attack. We are going to need the liberation. This is a spirit attack that you can only use whenever you use it after you have consumed spirit. So this is like a combo, but for you to be able to use it without consuming spirit or using another active skill, you can have the trance liberation that allows for you to use the trance whenever after a X or basic X or Y input. And then the golden armor set is going to unlock the awakening, that if you do a basic attack after the trance, then you're going to be moved towards the back of the enemy. Here you can continue the combo. This combo can only be continued with Assault, and that's what we're going to be using to do back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So let's actually talk about the combo. So basically the combo is going to be X and then whatever input that you have for trance. I have the right bumper with X, so it's going to be X, the trance, and then X again, and then Y for the Assault. After the Assault, you press a trance again and an X again so that you can get teleported. And this is what you're going to be doing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. As soon as you stagger the enemy, you want to make sure that before doing a brutal attack, you are on the back of the enemy, because that's when you're going to be dealing more damage because of the rear damage multiplier that we have. Sometimes, this is just going to be sometimes, whenever you stagger the enemy and you realize that you're already on the back of the enemy and you manage to see that you're going to be dealing that back damage, after the plunging attack for the Assault, you can charge a Moonlight attack, a heavy Moonlight attack, before you actually press the input, like I am showcasing right here, before you press the input of the brutal attack for more DPS. However, this is not always guaranteed, and it should be used with extra and ultimate caution. And that is basically the gist of everything with this build. I am going to be leaving you right in here with a boss fight so that you can see just how filthy, powerful and devastating this can be. Remember that use the combos to your own discretion, because you do still need to have in mind how is it that the enemy is moving so that he doesn't kicks your ass. If you like the content, a like and a video is super appreciated. Know still that you're a gorgeous beautiful person, you are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, have a beautiful day and goodbye.